Hello, my name is Ian Lin, and the title of my video project is Mental Health in Singapore versus ASEAN. The motivation for this project is because there has been increasing awareness about mental health as society matures, and there's development in the study and expertise in it. This project explores data trends within Singapore as well as across ASEAN countries, which we use as a backdrop for relative comparison. There are several types of mental health disorders in this dataset that I used. We have depression, drug use disorders, eating disorders, bipolar disorders, anxiety, as well as alcohol use disorders. The data here is of the year 2017, and the number of people having each respective disorder is expressed as a percentage of the population of the country. This heat map is calibrated with a sequential palette, where the darker the red, the more severe are the numbers. So we can tell that anxiety here seems to be the most severe mental health disorder across the countries in ASEAN, followed by depression as the second most severe disorder. And then we have a slight anomaly in alcohol use disorders in Vietnam. Something we may dive deeper into to find out more, but that will not be part of this video project. When we isolate Singapore from all the other ASEAN countries in the dataset, this pie chart shows the proportion of each mental health disorder as compared to all the types of mental health disorders that are available. So in this video, we are actually focusing on the second most frequent and severe mental health disorder, that is depression. If we examine depression itself in ASEAN, this visual shows the severity of depression in 2017, represented by the size of the bubble in the map. We can see that Singapore and Malaysia are having the higher percentages, followed by Myanmar and Thailand, and then the other surrounding ASEAN countries. If we look at the trend of depression in this visual, where the year is on the horizontal axis and the depression rate is on the vertical axis, we can see that Singapore's supposedly large number in the previous visual is actually declined from an even higher value, and that decline started somewhere around the year 2000. In contrast to the other ASEAN countries, Singapore still remains at the top or close to the top for depression rates. For the other ASEAN countries, they did not appear to have much significant changes in the depression rates, maybe with the exception of Malaysia, where there seems to be an increase in the numbers also from the year 2000. But in this video project, I will not be focusing on Malaysia. So what are some of the possible events in Singapore that might have contributed to this decline, which started around the year 2000? We have the opening of our first theme park. The theme park can actually be a place where people relieve their stress and frustration by taking the rides. Or it could also be the Singapore Stock Index hitting a peak in the year 2000. People are generally happier with higher income, but that can also be something which will be explored at the end of this video. It could also be the opening of the speaker's corner, where people are allowed to more freedom to express their thoughts and their ideas, and we are edging closer to a state of free speech. Then how should we interpret the decline of depression in Singapore across the years? Actually, did the absolute number really decline? In this chart, we plot the depression rate as a line with the year as the horizontal axis and the depression rate on the vertical axis. On the primary vertical axis, I plotted the number of people who are actually suffering from depression, or the number of depression cases. So we see year on year there is actually a gradual increase in the absolute number of depression. So can we say that depression has truly declined? What about gender? Does it contribute towards encountering a mental health disorder? Perhaps so. In this bidirectional horizontal bar chart plot, we have the number of females on the left in red, the number of males on the right in blue, and we have the year at which the data was obtained on the vertical axis. So we can see that the prevalence of mental health disorders occur more frequently in females as compared to males across the years, consistently. Unfortunately, in this dataset, the breakdown of the number of males and females suffering from depression as the mental health disorder itself wasn't available. It was mental health disorder in totality. What about the concept of depression being a wealthy disorder, meaning that it affects only wealthier countries? Over here we have a scatter plot with GDP per capita on the horizontal axis and depression rates on the vertical axis. If depression rates and GDP per capita were correlated, we should see the data points being positively or negatively sloped. We can see that across the years, GDP per capita of the country is expected to increase, and we will see that as the data points moving across towards the right. At the bottom, there is a slicer which we can choose to look into the specific year and how GDP and depression occurs across different countries. Remember the year 2000 where we start to see a decline in the depression rates of Singapore and an increase in the depression rates of Malaysia. So we can tell that perhaps income has not much of an impact towards depression rates of a country. We have come to the end of my video presentation. Thank you for your time.